What's going on YouTube? Coming to you live from Jersey and Michigan. I'm doing an interview today on a new show that I'm calling Influence for Good, and I'm excited to have one of the top influential gardeners on YouTube, Luke from the MIGardener channel. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I am honored. I'm honored, James. I did not realize I was one of the top influencers.
Oh
I
yeah,
actually watch your channel probably as much as you watch mine.
I don't know about that. Well, if you guys didn't know Luke, I like to call him one of the original YouTube gardeners because he's been on here for a long time. He's been consistent, and he's an amazing gardener. He's got the harvest to prove it. If you guys watch him this year, some of the cabbages and stuff he got was incredible. So he's all organic, no pesticides, no herbicides, no fungicides. So that's what we love here. And then we're going to jump right into it now. All right, Luke, who or what was your main inspiration to start gardening?
Whenever this question always comes up, I have to give credit to my mom. My mom was one of the biggest inspirations. She was more of the flowers side of gardening. But when I was a kid, I mean, she probably had me out in the garden before I could even walk, but I was in the garden when I could walk, from the very day I could walk. And so I was usually helping her out with flowers, and that was when I was younger and stuff, just because she didn't want to have me inside and she wanted to be outside. She couldn't juggle both. So she brought me outside, and she kind of just gave me little tasks to do, and I found it really interesting. And then when I was right around maybe between 7 and 8 years old, maybe even a little bit younger than that, but right around 7 or 8, she gave me a tomato plant to grow, and she basically did it for the sake of teaching me life lessons that are only learned through gardening. So things like patience and caring for something other than yourself, and really stuff that that I still very much use today. But I don't think what she realized in kind of trying to teach me those life lessons, I actually picked up a love of gardening kind of on the side, where she didn't really realize that would be, an unintended side effect, a very good side effect, but a side effect nonetheless, because that was not her goal. And I ended up loving it. And then, and then she allowed me to use, probably see it. It's like I'd say maybe like a 5-foot, a 10, maybe 5 foot by like 8 foot little section behind the garage. But it was a big section for me at the time because I wasn't expecting her to ever let me have a garden of my own. But she said, hey, use this garden. It was like an old wood pile, and I just cleared out the wood, and so it was perfect there. But she allowed me to do that. And so she was always really supportive of that whole thing. And then the biggest jump was when she allowed me to tear up her entire backyard. Well, my mom and dad, kind of were together on this, but my dad was always kind of like, hey, whatever, as long as he doesn't, as long as he didn't rip it up with like a 4-wheeler or whatever, turn it into a 4-wheel track, I'm fine. So my mom, being the gardener, she kind of had the say in kind of what went and what didn't. And so it was really big for me because she allowed me to put in 12 raised beds then. That was pretty much the entire back portion of our backyard. And so, so I got to give her credit. She definitely had her hand in the entire time. So from the moment I could walk up until today, she still gives me encouragement. So.
That's so awesome. You guys must have a great relationship.
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, I know she's been in a couple of our videos. I don't know if you saw them, but we're going to be doing for her birthday. I think we're going to be doing a mother-son interview on the MIGardener channel. So that'll be something for everyone to watch out for, because she doesn't like to be on camera, but there's 2 chances of liking it in the end. So we get along pretty well.
That's great. All right, next question up. What would you call your style of gardening in your own words? Like, high intensity, companion planting, how would you describe it?
Wow, man, that is I mean, I always stress, I mean, I don't really have a name for it, but I think if I had to come up with a name for it, it would be high intensity organic gardening. Because I think what a lot of people fail to know, or fail to, I guess, understand about gardening, is the fact that many of our seed packets and a lot of the teachings that are in books are based off of real traditional methods of gardening, very old school rows, and they're very conventional in terms of stuff that was taught by my parents' parents. And so that kind of information has never really changed, and I'm not sure if someone just doesn't want to have the task of taking it up to change it, or if maybe people just don't want to admit that there is alternative methods and they don't want to kind of they don't want to cause that friction between older generations that think they know best and the younger generation that thinks they know best. But in my experience, high intensity gardening, you can grow. I mean, and you yourself, I mean, your garden is incredible. I mean, you have spaces where you can hardly even walk. Now, I have spaces where I can hardly even walk, but it's more or less just because it got so big and overgrown. I have the beds that we kind of section out the beds, so it's kind of a, maybe I would even more consider it like a hybrid between conventional and unconventional gardening, because it very much is. I plant in rows to keep things orderly and good on the eye and easy on the eye, because I think that's what attracts a lot of people to gardening, is how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
But beauty is also in the eye of the beholder too. But I also think that it's very important to plant as close as possible, because when you're growing on like an urban environment, or in my case, in the limited space that I have, I can get 55, or I can get 50 to 75% more production out of the same exact space had I not listened to the seed packets. Because I think when you're looking at like onions, I give it a great example. In fact, I posted it on Facebook and it got a lot of really great feedback, is the fact that onions say the seed packet for onions say to plant 10 inches apart. And I don't know anybody that is, in your circle or my circle that plants onions 10 inches apart. I mean, that's like almost a foot per onion on either side. And I've been planting them 6 inches, which is 4 inches less than that. And I've been having, I mean, I just had amazing results. And then next year, I'm going to try 4 inches apart. So 4 inches on every side. That is a total of 8 inches, apart. And so I think I'm still going to have great results, and I'm going to be able to get, 30% more productivity even next year than I did this year. So.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I heard you mention that style of garden as well. With high intensity, you got less chance for actually weeds to come through because there's no space for them.
Right. Yeah, and that's another big thing too. When we're talking about high intensity gardening, one of the biggest benefits is the fact that you're literally beating the weeds at their own game. Weeds, their number one, their biggest benefit is the fact that they grow very fast and they begin to overshadow everybody else. And so what I found in my experience is the fact that if you can weed just long enough, plant the plants as close as you possibly can, and weed just long enough to kind of give your plants a head start. And then by the time they already have that head start, there's no way for the weeds to compete. And we've seen that exceptionally well. Onions, not so much. That's been our one difficulty that I'm trying to still figure out in a kind of a high intensity style, because the onions, they don't really have leaves to shadow anything out. So that was difficult. And it was exceptionally difficult to weed this year. But everything else, as far as like kale and cabbage, we never had to do any weeding until, well, first like 1 or 2 weeks. It was a lot of weeding. And after that, it was pretty much like an autopilot garden, which was so awesome. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to high intensity gardening, and I think it's really the way we need to be going, rather than thinking larger. Think smaller but grow more, because I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think the amount of space we have to live on is growing. I think if anything, it's shrinking.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful, and that's also breaking that kind of a lot of the norms there by that style. And I think that people, if they realize that a little more, they would realize that they should just be spending a lot more time on planting and harvesting rather than just constantly out there weeding. When you can set the system up, when you're just it's on autopilot, like you said. I mean, you're going to do some initial work in the beginning and the harvesting, but you're cutting out all that extra work there.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen, because in what I try to do, I try to inspire, and I like to say that I inspire, but I mean, the action is really all in the gardener, whether or not they want to take what I'm showing to heart. But I like to say that I inspire people, and one of the biggest things that I can do to inspire people is to show them that it's possible. So I think one of the biggest discouraging things is the weeds. And so if you show them that there's a way to garden where you can actually grow more food with less weeds, it's almost like people are so naturally attracted to the idea of it, that I think a lot of people also think that it's really hard. And once you tell them step by step, like, hey, all you have to do is weed for like 1 to 2 weeks and make sure that the soil is really nutrient dense and very fertile, and your plants are going to do the rest. Like, your plants want to grow, and you don't have to even touch your garden after that. People almost think you're lying, but then once they try it, they're like, whoa, okay, I can't go back. And for me, it's the same way. I looking back, I could not possibly go back to any other style of gardening, because it's not only easier, but I find that well, the easiest, it's not only very, very easy to do, but you also get so much production that we've been giving food to the soup kitchen. We've been giving bushels away to friends and family, and the space we've gardened on hasn't changed. It's been the same
Hmm.
square footage. It's just, our production has just gone through the roof. So yes, so many benefits.
Yeah, definitely. I see that with a lot of people too. They want I want more land, they want more acreage, they want more space, but they don't realize if they that small space, if they just refine the system that they're using in that small space, they really don't need that acre or two
Right.
acres because they won't even have the manpower to get it done on their own.
Right. Exactly. I could not agree with you more. Yeah, I know a bunch of my friends. When I was going through high school, I had a couple friends that were they lived out in the country, and whenever I go to their house, their parents were always asking me, because I was doing MIGardener at that time. They were always asking me like, "Hey, how should we get this bigger? How should we get this bigger?" And I kept, I'm obviously a really nice guy, so I was like, hey, I was
Mm.
giving them tips and stuff. But in the back of my in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, unless you have a cultivator or like a whole community of people, there's no way you're going to make that happen on, the acre and a half, 2 acres you want to do, for the same reasons you're saying. I mean, it's completely impossible.
Yeah, definitely. All
So,
right. Another question for you. What drives you to continue making like gardening videos? The inspiration you give people, but what else?
man, my biggest driving factor, boy, it's a tough one. Well, my biggest driving factor, I think, is I'm an interesting person. I think it takes a while to get to know me. And like, in the background, if you were to talk to some of my friends and family, the ones that have gotten to know me for a long time, they would probably agree with this. But my biggest driving factor, I guess, is to prove people wrong. It's a weird one. I know. I
That's good.
typically, not one you're normally going to hear, but I think well, ever since I always started, um, me being an entrepreneur, running my own small business, and being kind of this more introverted, unique person, that takes a while. It takes a while to get to know. A lot of people don't take me very seriously, and I think that's one of the things that, when I see people not taking me very seriously, it drives me even. It drives me more to say, like, look, take me seriously. Like, I know what I'm talking about. And I don't want to be, I don't want to be taken as a joke. And I think that's something that has really been my number one driving force in just pushing constantly the videos. It's obviously one of my biggest things too is to get people to grow more food. And the more information I put out there, the more information, some random person might come across it. But it's also just like, I want to reach as many people as possible and get as many people hooked on what I found that I got hooked on. And then kind of in the background say, like, hey, you really should have been not mocking me in high school when I said I wanted to be a professional gardener, or I wanted to be a garden guru, because I had so many teachers that if I was to write a paper on, they mocked me, and it's like, and to think that that is what goes on, and to discourage the uniqueness and the individualism. I mean, that's a conversation for another day that, I think people really should look into with our public school system. But that's totally off topic. That's where you kind of have that fire burning 24/7. It's just like, I really want to just show those teachers that laughed at my research paper about growing tomatoes. I just really want to stick it to them in the best way possible, because, like I said, I'm not a mean-hearted guy. And so I find that the best way I can stick it to them without being mean is just by being like, look what you missed. Look what you squandered by mocking me my whole life.
Yeah, that's great. I know
So
exactly what you mean now.
it's unique. It's unique. It's not something you'll find.
No, but I think that's important if you want to be successful and you have a successful channel and obviously an awesome small business, but that you need to have a driving force.
Hmm.
and that's important, I think, to have one. So it's beautiful to hear yours. And
Yeah.
here's another tough one. If you only had one sentence or just a couple sentences to tell your daughter about gardening, just a few to sum everything up, what would be your little snippet?
One sentence to tell my child about gardening. Boy, that is a hard one. Um,
Your one little message.
oh man, one little message. Um, well, I'd probably have to steal the quote, um, to grow a garden today is to believe in tomorrow. I think that's really that would definitely have to be it, especially for my daughter, because I think a lot of times people they see the future as being this like ominous thing that like they don't really feel confident in the future. They're not sure of the future. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I think that really sums it up the best. Is like when you plant a garden today, you're confident that you're going to get something in the future. I mean, as gardeners, we know that isn't always, you don't always have things that you get out of it, but it's the idea behind it that when you plant a seed today, you're going to have a bountiful garden in 50, 75 days. And those 75 days might be uncertain, but it's like you're believing in something bigger than today.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of my questions also was, what have you learned from gardening, or what has gardening taught you besides things like living out in the garden? But you kind of explained that all in the beginning, how it taught you a lot about life and stuff, and how that was a initial lesson you learned with your mother. So, anything else you want to expand on with that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't it that was really big. Just caring for things other than yourself, being really selfless, because it takes time to take care of a garden. Everything has needs. Plants have needs, and you as a human has needs. And sometimes I would, I'd set aside dinner because I just want to finish weeding the bed, or I might be watering, or I might be doing some type of maintenance. And I would say, man, I am so hungry, or oh, I'm so tired. But like I'm putting the garden ahead of myself for the time being, because I realize it has needs too, and if I neglect those needs and those needs go unmet, then it's going to come back to bite me in the long run. Um, that's one of them. Another one might be giving back when you have more than you can handle yourself. I think a lot of times people they look at like charitable giving in the sense that they have to give something monetary, or they have to go to the store and and buy something for someone in need. But as someone who donates, well, who has donated over the past 3 or 4 years several thousand pounds to the soup kitchen, um,
Wow.
that cost me actually nothing. I mean, people will always, you're always going to be those people that say, oh, well, it cost you time. Well, I mean, I don't really look at that when I'm gardening, because for me, it's therapy. For me, it's connecting with nature. For me, it's connecting with people. Like, that's where I find the value. That's what really pays off my time. I've given thousands of pounds to the soup kitchen, and to see people that truly have nothing or have very little, when they see like a fresh cooked meal made with fresh vegetables, not from a can, it just there's a whole new level to why I do what I do. And when I see well, because the soup kitchen that we take it to, my mom actually takes it to, because where we're at right now is actually quite a bit away. But the few times that I've gone and actually engaged with the people, I see their faces light up, and it just reinvigorates why I do what I do. So that's definitely another good one. It's just that charitable giving can be done from a garden, and it doesn't require a lot of money to do. And and on that note, next year, as a teaser for all of you watching, and for you, we're going to be doing a soup kitchen garden, and we're going to be designating, because this year we realized, like, okay, we are really giving a lot of food to the soup kitchen just basically on scraps. But what we're actually going to do, well, not scraps, but like extra food that we're not eating or canning or giving away. We're actually going to take requests from the soup kitchen and say, hey, what do you use the most of? Let's plant that for you. And so we're actually going to designate about 4 to 6 beds for that. So it, again, ties into that principle of just giving when you have more than you need.
Wow, that's a great idea. Something a lot of us should take up who have all the extra kind of stuff. I think that could be an awesome movement if we get more people doing that.
Right.
And I have kind of one last question here. You got a amazing website. It's really awesome. It looks super professional and everything. You're selling seeds and stuff for 99 cents. You got some clothes and gardening equipment and stuff. What are your plans for the future with that and YouTube and gardening in general?
Great question. So this year, we're really focusing on growing the seed store even more than we had last year. One of the things we're really proud of is the fact that we have, well, this year we're going to have over 300 varieties of all heirloom seeds.
Wow.
We're partnering with a company that does seed packets. We're actually going to be doing a 100% compostable, eco-friendly seed pack. It's made from recycled paper products, and it's on a soy-based ink. And in fact, the soy that goes into the soy-based ink is actually non-GMO soy. So we've gone like so far above and beyond where people would already be happy with what we have, but we just constantly want to keep driving the point home that we actually believe in the mission that we're promoting, and we're not just talking the talk, we're actually walking the walk. And yeah, so we're gonna have over 300 varieties of heirloom seeds. Everything's 99 cents, and we really try to, and we don't like to act like we have everything, because I think there's so many people out there are trying to be everything for everyone, and that really kind of foggies what's the term? It foggies the water, maybe. Like people can't really see through to the mission that you're actually trying to promote. And so we're only promoting seeds that we've actually grown either this year or any time in the past, and ones that we've actually found to be very reliable seed, so that we know what the results are if you grow it or if someone somewhere else grows it with minute differences. There's going to be a very consistent result that they're going to be happy with if they grow it how we try to teach how to grow it. And then with like the gardening products, like you touched on, it's not just like anything and everything. It's super curated to stuff that we've used, stuff that we promote, and stuff that we believe in. And I think that is really what helps people, and what I hope people will see when they go on the channel or on the website. Obviously, as you might know, a lot of it's out of stock right now because we're getting ready for the 2017 season. So there's like hardly anything in stock right now. But come November 1st, we're going to be completely restocked. And all the products are going to be things that you can go back on other episodes and actually watch us using and watching us endorse. And it's not even to make like we're not looking to make $1 million. We're not looking to make it rich. What we're really trying to do is give people a one-stop shop where they can all of our videos and learn how to grow their own food. And then if they food, they can do that too. And we try to make everything really cost effective and affordable for them so that people can do it on a budget. Because again, I think that is one of the driving factors to why a lot of people don't garden, is they think it's very expensive. And we're trying to kind of break down that barrier, the fact like you do not have to spend $500 a year on your garden. That's completely ridiculous. And you shouldn't have to garden on anything more than $50. I mean, maybe $75 if you're growing a garden of our size, which we just did a video on. It's called like five gardening myths. And one of the myths was the fact that gardening is expensive. And I showed that gardening is everything that you make it. If you want to make it like a $400 project, there are the materials to make it a $400 project, and someone out there is going to be very happy for your business. But it doesn't have to be a $400 project. And I don't mean to say that I would want to put those people out of business, but because I think there's a market for everybody. But I think for the beginning gardener, they need to just get those people out of their mind and focus on people like me that are really trying to do it in the most budget-friendly way possible. Because I think that the more people see how inexpensive it can be and how much of a return on your investment you can have, the more people are going to be attracted to this type of lifestyle. I cannot stress that enough. That's probably one of our biggest driving forces behind the store and the things that we carry and where we're going with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like you got a great business model. I love the website.
Thank you.
Check out Luke's channel if you haven't. Give him some love and support, and check out his website, MIGardener.com, and I'm going to put a link in the description. Thanks again for coming out, Luke.
Hey, thanks, James. Hey, yeah, and by the way, I got a few seconds before I got to get running, but I want to tell you, James, your channel is top notch, and I know totally unscripted, totally not part of the program. But anytime you put on an episode, I think it's really inspirational what you're doing. And I think that the more you upload, the more people are going to be inspired as well, because it totally agrees with what I'm doing, but it goes even a little step further, where it's like, this massive jungle that would normally be seen as like a complete pile of chaos is like, it's like very orderly chaos. And the yields that you're getting are just phenomenal. And so I definitely want to encourage you to keep it up. I absolutely love your channel. And I definitely recommend everyone. I'm going to send a bunch of people over to this live stream, and hopefully they're attracted to your style of gardening as well.
Oh, thanks, Luke. I hope I bring some from mine to yours too, because I love what you do, and I appreciate the encouragement and everything you do. So thanks for coming on, Luke. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for watching.
It was a pleasure. Remember to go big or go home. Yeah. All right. See ya. Bye.
Later.